You're listening to All Hands on Tech. Come along as we get to know the people and businesses behind the province's ever-expanding tech sector.
Each episode, we'll chat with local experts to uncover the hidden gems that make Nova Scotia a hub for collaboration, innovation, and creativity.
All Hands on Tech is proudly produced by Digital Nova Scotia, the industry association for Nova Scotia's growing tech sector. Hey, thanks for joining us for another episode of All Hands on Tech. I'm Eilish.
And I'm about 2 weeks into growing a beard, and I don't think it's going well, but I'm Greg, and today we're thrilled to have Irene Saliendra join us today to talk about what she's been up to lately in the world of digital sales.
We certainly are, and you keep working on that beard there, Greg. Irene is a digital sales consultant, and she's just taken on an exciting new role at Nucleus, who is also a new member of DNS. We'll talk about that in just a moment. She will be helping clients navigate the world of digital transformation and client solutions over there.
Now, aside from that, she's also the co-founder of Fem Entity, a wellness platform with a mission to empower individuals to embrace self-care, challenging limiting beliefs, and create positive change within their communities.
So in today's episode, we'll hear all about her journey from business development to launching, her insights on the future of digital transformation, and how she balances growing businesses with making a meaningful social impact. Hey, Irene, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. I'm excited to have this conversation. I want to double check. Did Greg say the business name right?
He did.
Amazing.
Fem Entity.
Okay,
He did. Fabulous.
okay.
Yep. And
Just wanted
the
to
most
put him on the-
fabulous intro, I must say, that I've ever received.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'll take the pat on the back for that one. I wrote that one. This was a fun one. The intro could have been 5 minutes long with everything that you've been up to these past few years. But we did shorten it just, for time's sake, of course. But you've been up to quite a bit, and we are going to get into it, all of it, hopefully. It'll be a long episode, I think, but we're going to cover all of it if we can in the time. But first, we didn't tell you about this.
Oh, okay.
We're going to do some icebreakers.
Okay.
You good with that?
I'm so
Tough
ready.
questions.
Yeah,
Tough questions.
you got some tough
Okay.
questions. Okay. I am told, I'll start us off here because I heard through the grapevine. How do you do that? The point without showing it? Through the grapevine.
I am just one big grapevine.
Just one big
jungle.
Just a sweet, sour grape.
Yes.
But I have been told from that grapevine that you have a very serious passion for being on the water in a boat.
Constantly.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit about all of that?
Keep me on the water. I love the thing that's wonderful about, I think, what I do here is it's just behind the screen. So what I love is when I can just forget my laptop, forget everything, and do the wellness bit by myself. Also away from land. I feel it's kind of an escapism, but also very much like, oh, put me in a different situation so I can just float and be present and not think about the fact that my Slack hasn't stopped pinging since 2020.
But it's on land, so
But
you
it's
can
on
forget
land.
about it.
Exactly. And I'm over here on a boat and I'm sipping a margarita in a bikini in the middle of the day on a Tuesday. What can go wrong?
Yeah.
Why are our Tuesdays not like that?
Well, I used to have these things I called Gregcations before I had children, and so I bought like a big blow-up boat. And
Amazing.
So I'm a big guy. You
version
can't
of
tell sitting down. And so I sat in the boat, and it was more like a very sunken-in coach that still float. It would float a little bit, and I would just go into the middle of a lake. And
With your bikini and your
with
margarita?
my bikini and my margarita, and would just kind of, at one point, just to kind of get pure calmness, I watched an airplane go from like the furthest left point of my peripheral view all the way to the right. And it was like 2 minutes of just, that's the only thing I focused on. And then, realized that I was a lot further away from land than I thought, and I didn't have a paddle. So it made for a little bit of work, but it was still a good time.
Nice.
Right.
Okay. As an East Coast gal, I fully agree. Like wholeheartedly. Get me out on the water, whether I'm floating or on a boat or going for
I
a
would
swim.
suggest a boat more than just a tube of air.
Yes.
But,
Yes.
sick safety.
Yeah.
Yes,
But,
definitely.
At least bring the paddle.
Or like a boat meant for someone your size.
yeah.
Okay, fair. Okay, I love that. That's so nice. I like that you connect that with disconnecting too. That's so nice. Just to be out, be one with the water. I'm all about that. So I totally appreciate that.
100%.
Cool. Okay. All right. Thanks, Grapevine, for that little note.
So our next question, and this is one of those classic, if one of these items couldn't exist, which one would you choose? And the two items that we're talking about today is a world without either coffee or a world without chocolate.
Oh my gosh, you can get rid of coffee. I'm fine.
Really?
I don't run on coffee.
Okay.
I appreciate that. Little known fact, I don't drink hot beverages. I just hate it.
Okay.
I burn my mouth all the time.
Have you watched The Mormon Show yet?
I have not.
Oh, okay.
The Mormon Show. What do you mean?
The one that's
the moms
Like a TLC?
House
on
of-
TikTok. the TikTok moms.
the Housewives of Utah, I think it is. Most of them are Mormons, and they had this whole thing how they don't drink hot beverages. So that just pinged off my mind.
Oh, wow.
Oh, you're just a Mormon
I like
Utah mom.
I like a warm hot chocolate or like a warm,
Okay.
you know, what are they called?
Pumpkin spice latte.
Yeah, like I shout out to all the folks who like PSL back at the office. This one's for you guys. But yeah, no, I find I'm not like I'll have an espresso shot, but I'll treat it as if it's just like sort of shoot it down and
So
get
not
caffeine.
to the next.
Not
Yeah.
the way
Like
you're supposed to enjoy that beverage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're a college student,
My Italian
Possibly.
in-laws will probably be like smacking me for saying that, but it's true.
yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah,
So
no, not normally. Tea,
Yeah.
sometimes, but chocolate. Don't ever take away my chocolate.
Don't
I
get
am
in
a
between the
fiend
girl and
for
her chocolate. Okay.
and it's just also it's when some women say like, oh, on this week I want chocolate. That's like a daily occurrence.
Yeah.
Like 3 p.m. goes around. It's like, why don't I have chocolate?
What is
Yes.
like the pinnacle of chocolatierism?
Yeah.
Oh my
you?
goodness. For a really long time, I think it's just because it's tradition. Every Christmas and Valentine's Day, my mother gets me Ferrero Rocher.
Nice.
Yeah,
They're
I'm
I love them.
right
too.
there with you.
Yes.
I love a good
And
Ferrero
so
Rocher.
after Valentine's, when it goes on sale,
Oh,
because
yeah.
we celebrate the Day of Love, obviously, but it's like when Walmart goes on 50% sale and you get like 7 boxes of Ferrero Rocher, all for 75% off. That is my dream.
Make it
Okay.
rain Ferrero Rocher. That's what we're saying.
That's exactly.
You just throwing them all around the
Yeah.
house.
And they look gold too, so you kind of look like Scrooge McDuck.
Oh,
when
yeah.
you carry them
Just
around.
jumping in a pool of them.
Little gold
Yeah,
nugget
exactly.
flavor bombs. Yeah,
so
I
it's
love that.
can't take that away.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
insane. I love that.
We're going with another would you rather. So would you rather give up your social media for a year or give up like your Netflix or your streaming services for a year?
Whoa.
I know.
Because then it's just like, I can't watch Love Island anymore. That's a hard one. But then it's like, does social media also include LinkedIn?
I think in this case maybe okay. So here's
Asterisks on that one.
I
That's
know,
more
I feel like-
professional. so-
Okay, yeah, I know. So here's what I'm thinking. Maybe let's separate like Irene the professional versus Irene the person. So
Yeah.
does that change it for you?
That
so like
does, because Irene the person would gladly give away social media. Because
Yes.
that is such a brain rot for me.
Oh my gosh,
But
yeah,
then
I
like
get that.
I would put TV on as like a background to make myself not feel so small.
yes. Oh,
It's like
girl, you're
constant.
laughing. I get it.
You're like, or
Yep.
it's like there's a new movie that comes out on Netflix. When Charlotte came out on Netflix, that was the only thing that was in my peripheral for that whole week. So I'm like, no, I can't. Come on.
Yeah, the algorithms on the like streaming services, they know me intimately, and they have not ever
They've not done
steered
me
me wrong.
wrong.
They've never
So
done it.
we have a previous guest who takes down
Oh, yeah.
every movie, every TV show, every movie, and he has like the spreadsheet that he puts it into, and he uses AI to be able to say, based on the way that you've rated movies or shows in the past,
Yeah.
here's what I would suggest for you to watch
Oh, that's
tonight.
brilliant.
Isn't
It's
it?
crazy. I
Isn't
don't
it?
know how to get onto this service.
I know. We
but
asked him, but he kind of
yeah.
like kept it a little secret.
Do you think
Yeah.
he's just like his own self-made AI?
It is. He
that's
is.
brilliant.
So
Yeah,
this
pretty
is so
much.
it's what he does. He makes AI assistants, and like he uses
Wow,
them for
that's
good and
brilliant.
evil.
So like, taking time to like pick something to watch, by the time you waste like an hour and a half, you're like, oh, I guess I'll just pick something short. I'll watch a couple
Yeah.
episodes of this.
Yeah.
I don't actually know what that's like when I watch episodes. It's like all of them, but
Right.
yeah.
like
in
you're,
your
you're
household,
6 or
you do what you
7
do.
episodes in, and then you're just like, oh, now I'm committed to this character to
Yes.
win.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I'll go, yeah.
And it's so funny because I'm the kind of person that never in a million years would I sit down and just like watch a full like 2 movies back to back. Like the idea, remember when you were kids and you would like go to the movie theater, you'd pay for your 1 ticket. I never did this because I was a good kid. But then you would like after that movie, you would sneak over maybe into another
Oh, I was
movie.
the kid that didn't even pay for her movie ticket. But
Okay, well, this criminal aside, but I like the idea of that just was never appealing to me because why would I ever spend that much time, committed to
In
watching,
one
right?
thing,
Yeah.
yeah.
But the way that I can sit down and watch an entire season of episops
Without
Oh, yeah.
even trying.
without
You're like,
even
oh, wow,
without
it's
even realizing.
2 a.m.? What am I doing?
yeah.
Oh, there's only 30 minutes left. Might as well.
Keep it going.
I'm gonna finish it off,
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my bad habit. Okay. Okay. I feel like we got to know you a little bit as a person. And I think that will continue because of what your business is and what you do offer. We'll kind of continue that trend, but we will switch over to our main questions here now for that you did get to have a peek at beforehand. So hopefully these don't shock you too much. So first things first. There we go. Can you tell us a little bit about the idea for Fem Entity and how it came to be during, the early days of you building this platform?
Yeah, this was a really interesting concept because the idea started in 2021. And so back then it was we're coming off the back end of the pandemic. I was facing a lot of physical ailments. My partner was facing a lot of mental ailments. And both times, we're told, go to these resources. Every time we go to these resources, it repeatedly let us down. And I talk more about my own physical ailments on the Sick Boys podcast that I'll be on. But in the crux of it, it really projected us into this wellness space when we're trying to understand what are the avenues that women can go to find help beyond the medical system, or when the medical system fails you, where do you go? And that was a giant question mark. And me being a young woman, I'm like, well, I can't just sit here and do nothing. Let me just do something. And then the thing that I do is build a business. And then somehow we're still here. And so it focused around, at the time, everyone was going back to work. And the propaganda at the time, I remember, was like, get back to the office and go back to the time that we missed. And it was
Pizza parties for everyone.
Yeah. And it was a really odd concept because in the pandemic, I was a lot of, take care of yourself, do some self-care and rest. But then immediately after, it's like, go back and hustle.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me.
Doesn't quite translate, hey?
It doesn't work. And when you look at the way, historically, when we burn ourselves out, we're not productive and we don't work. So in creating Fem Entity, we wanted to create a brand that represented the mainstream, that wellness could be something that equates to progress and equates to success. And so that's kind of what led us to push forward with its brand.
Incredible. I say it all the time because we run into a lot of folks who have created something great from something difficult. And I think, unfortunately, I think not a lot of folks would be able to find that strength in their own discomfort and what it is that they're going through, that they're struggling with, to then build something to help others. So, I mean, good on you for being able to hopefully pull yourself out of a little bit of that with this, but then also just create this for others as well. It's incredible.
It's been a journey. It's continuously an iterative journey, but the main thing we're always is how can we get women closer to the wellness that they deserve? And that's always the question that we're kind of iterating on.
And it is so interesting too. I mean, obviously it's no surprise to anybody who, doesn't have their head in the sand that right now in the last couple of years, our healthcare system is in shambles. It's
doing one of the
it's kind of struggling just a little bit. So that is, as a whole blanket statement. And then when you add more, specific layers, like being a woman and, and maybe if you're a person of color, once you add those, more, like I say, more specific layers to it, it just gets even more difficult to navigate, to find that help, to advocate for yourself.
It gets really messy. And so to kind of summarize for me, the COVID vaccine is what triggered my whole eczema to go out.
Okay.
And so that, because from the doctors, I was on 2 different antibiotics, 2 different kinds of steroids, and then on top of that, antidepressants and then birth control. All of which had no benefit to my body, but all of which are now in my body. And then I had to figure out, okay, if they're in my body doing something, how can I get better from it? Or how can I go away from steroids without having to erupt my body? And the 2 things was, well, because you're a woman, it could impact you differently. Cool, obvious.
Yeah, shocker.
Because I was under 35, it can impact your fertility. Cool, concerning. And then because of my skin tone, my eczema is shown on different skin tones in different ways. So they didn't recognize it as eczema for a while until I said, I've had a history with eczema. This is what it is. And that's when they're like, oh, it's eczema. It's not just an allergic reaction. So all of those kind of topped on top of each other was like, this is a really fucked system.
Yeah.
Why am I educating you of what's wrong with me? And then why are you prescribing me pills that are also not working? Let's figure it out.
Yeah.
And then when they didn't want to figure it out, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to figure it out myself.
Atta girl.
That's awesome.
Atta girl. Listen, as somebody who was definitely worse than I am now, but still am an eczema sufferer, and who basically did the same thing. Like, I was begging doctors to put me on a prednisone just to try it, because I was doing all my own research and trying to figure out what would work, because all the medications and whatnot, all the creams, I think I've tried every single cream available
All
out
the
there.
steroid topicals.
All of it.
Yeah.
None of it worked. And finally, I remember the moment that I was in the doctor's office and I was finally seeing a female doctor for the very first time.
Yes, a female dermatologist.
Yeah. And I remember I like pulled up my sweatpant leg and she gasped. And I was like, okay, well, that's not a lovely reaction from a doctor.
That's not the first thing you want to hear.
No,
It's like, how are
definitely
you?
not. But then she finally said, okay, yeah, let's try it your way. And that's what finally did it for me.
Yeah, it's like banging down these doors to say, I'm in a lot of pain. But it's like, why do I have to make such a fuss? Like, I remember even making a fuss at the hospital, trying to get their attention. And it's like, they're literally not paying attention to me. And mind you, I understand at that time, there was a lot happening in the world. But also, if someone could just say like, hey, Irene, you need to go soak yourself in oatmeal for a little bit longer. Or just, anything other than just go write it out would have made me feel a lot better. But it's the fact that like, no, I have to wait in a system that makes me wait for 8 hours before the doctor can see you, all to be told to just go home.
Yeah.
It's defeating. Yeah.
Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. Again, amazing job to come from that and create something that other people can hopefully feel heard by as well. Because that's the biggest thing, right? You just wanted to feel heard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so with that in mind then, tell us a little bit about what you guys offer over there at Fem Entity then.
Absolutely. So right now we're building it to obviously have all the bells and whistles, but at the crux is we want to be here to serve the community. So we have a list of amazing wellness directory practitioners, a directory of wellness practitioners, all women that are in the wellness field. I have one of my best friends is a PhD in women's reproductive health. I have another coach that's a intimacy and sexologist coach. I'm like, many men need her help. And so many, there's an electrolysis that does gender affirming services. And so all of these amazing women have stepped forward to say like, I want to put my services to bring women closer to wellness. Incredible. And then through free memberships, any woman, any person is able to go on our website, see the directory, and then see their courses that they've uploaded, events that they're doing, read up on any of our blog posts that give information about other tech platforms in the space. And it's a place that women can go to find reliable and reputable knowledge about their wellness needs.
That's amazing.
Just what a resource.
Thank you
to
so
just have
much.
that all in front of you. Like you said, navigating can be very difficult. So just have that all at the tip of your fingers is great.
Thank
just
you
great.
so much.
Amazing. Amazing. Okay, Greg, I've been chatting a lot. I'll let you take the next question.
So I think this is great. Well, so it sort of it ties on to what we've been talking about. You've successfully merged business development, your experience there with a meaningful social impact through Fem Entity. How do you balance the demands of growing a business, staying true to a mission that's so centered on wellness and positive change, especially today where it seems like having that sort of mission in a business, it's so quick for people to dismiss that when it comes to, I don't know, something short term.
Definitely.
They can achieve. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. And anyone that I've come up to who's wanted to go into the social impact route, I always say, as long as you're doing it and it constantly brings you joy when you're doing it, keep doing it. Because you can make any kind of product, any kind of solution, but if at the end of the day you're looking at it and you're like, well, what the hell? You have to find joy in it. And for me, wellness is a place that like has empowered me and fueled me in my energy. But it's also, as a business development expert, it's a constant iterative process. And so a lot of times you'll hear organizations be like, oh, have you found product market fit? And how does the market associate with your product? And that's really important. And we're constantly iterating and working with our consumer base to make sure that the features and functionality in Fem Entity match the needs of my consumer. there. But at the crux, there's also brand market fit. And that's when a brand becomes so popular before it even launches or before even created a new feature, the consumers will just eat it up because they love the brand, they love the purpose, they love what is behind it. And we've seen that so many times. A great example is like Nike. They transition so many times and listen to their consumers that whatever they come up with, they're just going to eat. Another example is like Apple. Now they have such a hold on their consumer that they could come out with something crazy like a bionic leg. And because there's an iOS system in it, people will be like, I need that bionic leg. It's this crazy phenomenon that people are attaching themselves to a concept of the brand more than the features and functionality that a brand could create. And I'm seeing dev teams go off and create this amazing product with intricate technologies and even like psychotech that is happening. But none of it is really going to penetrate the market if the market doesn't know you exist. And so at the crux of it with business development, we wanted to start at the first, making sure people recognize Fem Entity as the brand to go to for women's wellness, and then continuously iterating on that development, because you can start a business, but you got to develop on the business constantly. And that's really how we've merged the beauty of like how to collect consumers and that target audience that we want to achieve, and then how to continuously build our own business without losing the people that we've gained along the way.
It's amazing.
The brand that came to mind for me when you were saying about like finding that brand marketing voice is I've seen it play out on TikTok of all places, but Ryanair. It's an airline that, you know, kind of offers from what I understand, I've never flown with them myself, but from what I understand, it's a very cheap experience. Like there's no...
Is this a sketchy airline?
Yes. Yes. And like the reality is that like people in the comments are saying that, but because they've made this funny name for themselves on social media, people are like, I'm willing to risk my life. It's fine. This is fun.
Right.
I want to be a part of it.
Right. And that's exactly it. Like, they want to like get to know, because they've, you know, the airplanes have been sassy in like their comebacks. And obviously it's some, I'm sure, underpaid intern who's running the social media account being hilarious. But it's exactly that. People are eating it up. It's an airline. Like who would have thought, like they're going to be in business no matter what, but people are loving their content because they feel that this is now Ryanair's voice.
Yeah. They feel connected. They're like, I feel represented by that social post that they made. And therefore I'm going to put my money down on it.
Whether it's risking, allegedly, we'll say allegedly.
Allegedly.
The news training's coming out now. Allegedly, we have not, we've not researched any of the facts on this, but but it's interesting. It's definitely interesting. Switching gears a little bit, I talked about how we were going to kind of touch on a lot of the aspects of your life here. One of them being that you were recently named one of the 30 under 30 innovators for 2024. First of all, congratulations. Of course. Yes, round of applause. Can you share a little bit about your journey that kind of led up to that moment, what it meant for you to get that recognition, and how your work in digital transformation has kind of shaped your career so far?
Yeah, well, I think, one, I'm like, I am under 30. Thank you. I just, that is something I'm like, yes, I am. You can achieve things under 30 and you still look good. But in it, I've always been very much an entrepreneurial spirit. And I've always told my friends, like, if it's not this business, it's going to be another business. Because it's like, I have ideas on ideas. Every time I see something, I'm like, I can make that into a business.
Amazing.
So it's never, I don't think the innovation has just like erupted. It's always been like the spark in me that I'm like, let me just keep trailing on its tail. And then in receiving that was such a shocking moment, because it was in the pinnacle of, I was transitioning between corporate life and going full-time entrepreneur, and that's really scary. And being in my head of like, well, should I keep doing this? My bank account's saying I really shouldn't. And kind of finding that validation in myself, and then receiving that congratulation email, I'm like, this means I'm actually worth it. It's a very reassuring feeling. And so for me, I'm like, I have so much gratitude, but it also solidifies me in like, because I'm so content with my freedom and my passion that I'm doing, that now I'm so joyous in talking about it. But it is a moment of self-reflection and understanding with yourself of like, this is just how it's going to be for a while, and I have to trust that it's going to be okay.
Good on you for getting to that point, though, because I mean, I feel like we hear the other side of it all the time that people can't.
It's
so
hard.
I feel like it's got to be a lot of I feel like it's going to be a lot of trust in yourself as well. I know, like, I got anxious just hearing you talk about that. I would never survive. The idea, I love a plan, I love stability, and I just know that about myself. So I always find it fascinating when folks are on the opposite side of that from me. So.
I also feel that because my strength is sales, a lot of it, like, I leaned into in those early days of like, what is my natural gift? My natural gift is sales.
Nice.
And so knowing that about myself, I'm like, okay, let me just lean into it. I know a lot of sales is a long game. I know a lot of it is customer relationships and building those relationships. So I'm like, let me take that mindset early on in the years, because similar to like when you start a brand, you need to let people know. When I started my own journey as a consultant, I had to let people know, and that built momentum, built motion, and like I had to keep staying on it and believing like, okay, this person was nice to me, let me keep being nice to that person because maybe they might need my help.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's anything wrong with that either.
No.
Yeah.
Well, switching gears, I know you have some pretty exciting news and fairly recent as well. So we want to congratulate you on joining Nucleus.
Thank you.
Who is a new DNS member
Yeah, they're fabulous.
as well. Shout out to Clement and Alexi. So you are going to be working in digital transformation and client solutions. Can you tell us a little bit about how that got connected? How you guys sort of met, and maybe a little like background story. And I'm saying this for our listeners, as I might know a little bit of this.
So if you haven't been to a Digital Nova Scotia mixer, highly recommend.
Ooh, shout out DNS mixers.
Because that is exactly where I met them. Doing my thing, as I love going out networking. And so I was working the room similar to like, you got to get yourself out there. And so I saw them just kind of walk in and I was like, I've never seen them around Halifax. And when you go to enough places in Halifax, you're like,
you start to recognize faces.
Who's around, you can see. And I was just like, they're new. And so I just went up to them and they were talking to other people. And I was just like, hey, I want to introduce myself. And who are you? And we just started talking from there, and they're like, well, we're trying to figure out how to have some kind of like market here in Halifax and to engage with more of the community. They're very philanthropic and they do a lot of works with non-for-profits, which really interested me. And then from there, it was kind of a conversation of like, I know a lot of people, maybe too many people for my own good, but they were like, we would love to work with you to kind of leverage that network and bridge those connections. And for me, it was really exciting because I can do the consulting work all day and night. I can tell you how to do your strategy, but the execution part is where I fall short in myself. And so being backed by an amazing team like Nucleus, who is so dynamic and very captivating even to talk to, they have so much more capability that I can tackle my skills on top of it, or even bridge the connection into new people that they wouldn't have met. And then it becomes this beautiful partnership where we're both benefiting, and then organizations that are leveraging us, they're not just getting kind of a one-stop shop. It's the benefit of like, if you're looking at digital transformation, it has to be holistic. And so it means the way that you're showing up digitally in front of the client, you need to make sure your CRM, your capacity, your digital flow in the back is also matching that same capacity. And you could do one or the other, but there's always going to be a drop-off of something that's not enhanced enough. And so by doing both in tandem, the front end and the back end with our expertise, you're getting a holistic digital transformation at the end of it.
Okay, so my next question was going to be, what are you bringing to the table, essentially? But you've already covered that clearly. So I guess I would ask then, what kind of excites you the most about this partnership and the fact that you're joining their team?
Oh man, there's so many things they're from Montreal. So let's just give a shout out to Montreal because I love that city.
Amazing.
But also just the ways in which I can learn from them. For me, learning is something that is so exciting. And as an entrepreneur, I feel like an entrepreneur always needs to be learning. And so they have a very deep experience in more of the web dev, UX, UI components and how to connect that to the back end. Whereas I come from a very Salesforce dominant background. So I've always been in the back end. So seeing how I can merge my expertise and bridge more of that to see the benefit on the front end for the customers, that's really exciting to me because I've never gotten to see that part. And they are such a brilliant team. Oh, and also to hopefully spruce up on my French.
Nice.
I mean, one would think maybe they'd bring you out to, you know, like headquarters.
Eventually.
So
I'm like, I love Montreal. I've been putting that in their ear. And then also I was like, je peux parler français un petit peu. I was like, I got a little bit, but it's, yeah. I'm
so
like,
full disclosure, Clement may or may not be coming on next week's episode. So we'll try and put in a good word. I'll make sure that he knows that he needs to fly you out so that, yeah, it's for the betterment of the business.
I'll do the Duolingo. Is that what it is?
Oh, yeah.
I'll
have the bird just yelling at you every day to do do your homework.
It's very intense.
It's actually,
like you have 5 minutes before
and then
you
if you don't, do you see the way that the face changes? If you don't log into the Duolingo.
I haven't noticed that. Oh my, well, because I haven't. I deleted
if you don't, it'll become more and more like sad and sick and ill. So you have to log into it to make your bird better.
That reminds me of like, what were they? Nanopets? No,
Neopets.
Neopets.
Yeah.
That reminds, or not a neo.
Tamagotchi.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
You had to feed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
gosh.
that's exactly how. So you have to learn your language so your bird looks good.
Okay. No pressure.
We had one guest who was on a 400+ day streak.
Yeah.
I'm at 71. That's mine right.
Okay, that's really impressive. I'm literally at 15.
I'm at 0, so you're beating me. Okay, so with all of this, obviously this is very exciting, and congratulations, you're going to do fantastic. I already know that. What does this mean, though, for your role? Does anything change with Fem Entity? Like, are you stepping back at all, or are you just going to somehow find extra hours in the day that don't exist? Like, tell me how you're going to balance it all.
We are 10 toes down, completely going forward, full guns a-blazing, jetpacks on. There's no slowing down this train. I feel like I definitely know that eventually I'm going to have to say like, hey, these are the times, because, you know, as a wellness brand owner, it's kind of awkward if the owner is burnt out. And then speaking on wellness,
it doesn't quite go with that brand voice we were talking about.
It doesn't work with the brand. I need to spend more time on boats. No. But
boats in Montreal.
See, it's all coming together. But genuinely, it's finding a really good balance and having open communication between like Nucleus and my team at Fem Entity, being like, hey, this is a Nucleus thing, let's do that. But then also what's really amazing about that team is they're so open and honest with an understanding about Fem Entity, and they support my work there too.
Nice.
So it's a thing of, hey, I'm doing these hours for Nucleus and I'm doing these hours for Fem Entity, and when paths cross, amazing. But if they need to be separate, cool, we can navigate those. Yeah.
I gotta say, I love hearing these stories of, you know, like, it's nice that you guys both happen to be members, and you know, we see you guys at our events, and you know, to hear that some of these partnerships or collaborations are happening within the ecosystem. I think that it's just one of the many things that we love to see at DNS, to say that, you know, getting together and getting, you know, bright people in a room together can lead to, you know, an endless amount of opportunities. So it is fantastic to hear that story, and you know, one that we'll definitely celebrate internally a lot.
I mean, it's kind of our whole MO, right? Like that. This is why we have these events, that we want you guys to be building these connections. I mean, the fact that this has turned into a new job, a new role for you, I think is above our expectations of what we ever thought we could, you know, achieve by throwing these events, hosting these events. So yeah, that's a pretty good plug for us. We're doing pretty good.
You're doing great.
Yeah, you know, I think the team at DNS, shout out to everyone who puts on our events, who puts in all the hard work in terms of connecting with our members, and it really is a whole team effort of folks who really just want to see the tech sector grow and prosper. So fantastic to see stories like this, and hopefully we see a ton more of them, you know, in the near future. Now I'll ask sort of one last question before we sort of open the floor to you. So you have worn multiple hats as an entrepreneur and a consultant, and you know, for many, we talked about sort of people being nervous about taking that first step. What is one piece of advice you give to an aspiring entrepreneur, especially those who are looking to create businesses with a strong social component to it, a social impact?
I was actually racking my brain about what to say, because it's just like, I want to be so insightful and like charismatic. But genuinely, when I think about this, I'm going to say the same thing that I always tell myself every day, and it's to be kind to myself. Because in all the journey of entrepreneurship, one thing that is hitting so hard is entrepreneurship is you make a lot of hard decisions and you talk to a lot of difficult people sometimes. And on the consultant hat, like I said, mentioned, uncertainty is constantly by your side. Unknowing how your bank account's going to look is constantly something that's like in the back of my mind. And so when the world feels chaotic and when things don't work out, show yourself the kindness that you would show a person that canceled on you last minute. Give myself the grace to be kind to myself, even if something doesn't work out or that contract doesn't come in last minute, because that will happen and things won't work out, and sometimes products fail or sometimes launches don't go as planned. But if I continue to choose to show myself kindness in the days that are really, really low and in the valleys that don't make sense at all, then that's a win for me, because even if the world's angry, I don't have to be angry at myself, and I don't have to be angry at the decisions I made, because I did them for the benefit of hopefully a greater good.
Irene, she was like, I was worried about what I was going to say, and I wanted it to be like, are
Drop
you kidding
some insightful,
me? Yeah.
Oh, good.
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
that was fantastic.
I mean, like, obviously incredible advice for somebody who's, navigating like potentially a new business, but I think just incredible advice for everybody. Like,
it's really hard to be kind to yourself.
Yeah. We're our own worst critics, I think, in everything that we do a lot of the time. So I think that's just a really nice thing for us to try and remember always, whether you're starting a business or doing the 9-to-5 thing.
Oh,
like,
definitely.
Whatever it is.
Yeah. There's so many times I've walked away to a conversation and I could have, especially when you're working a 9-to-5, if your work doesn't work out for you, you're like, oh, that company sucks because so-and-so did this and that and the other. But if something doesn't work for you in your own business as an entrepreneur or in your own consultancy, the person that you blame is yourself, because you're leading that charge. And then you're just like, well, damn, I should have done this, or like, I should have been like this. But it's really like, at the end of the day, you did your best. Yeah. And just be kind to yourself in those moments.
Yeah.
Amazing. My gosh. Okay. That's it for our questions. Somehow the time has flown by here. It's felt like 5 minutes, but it's certainly not.
Truly.
So at this point, we want to open the floor up to yourself. Is there anything new and exciting coming down the pipeline? Anything we haven't touched on? I mean, we've touched on a lot. You've done a lot.
We've done a lot.
We've done a lot. But do you have anything else? Another, job hiding under,
Can you imagine somewhere? Just like, wait, let me just
let me
pull something out.
Let me check my purse.
Gosh, if a new role comes my way, everyone knows I'm just like, I'm always eager to jump at new opportunities. I always say, if you're an organization and you're just like, my CRM sucks, cough, cough, then
we're talking to you for sure.
I always say, if your CRM sucks, or if you log into a customer relationship management tool and you're just like, what is this hunk of garbage? Talk to me, because we could probably make your life a lot less frustrating. If you're looking at your website and you're like, none of this is converting, or someone told me this would give me leads and it's not, hi, I would love to figure that out with you. And then also, if you're someone that's just passionate about wellness and believes that women deserve to have more reliable wellness resources, I would love to talk to you, because odds are you are definitely the person that I want to talk to too.
Okay, with that in mind then, how do folks get in touch with you? That's the actual last question.
Oh, great. My email is,
go for it.
You can, www.fementity.ca is one, digitalflowconsulting.ca is another, and then my name at gmail.com, Irene Saliendra, is the best way you can reach me anytime.
Amazing. Get in touch. Irene's amazing. Thank you so much for coming out here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Sharing your story.
Oh my gosh, this has been so great. Thanks for making the time, Irene.
Absolutely.
Recorded by This Is Marketing on Blanding Branding since 2015.